Adam, and today is November 17th, 2018, and I was thinking about something the other day that I never really paid any attention to. But I want to talk about zeros, circles, and O's. Now, I found out that I write my zeros, circles, and O's counterclockwise. And growing up, I never really paid attention, and it was just recently that I watched an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and one of the characters on there was using paper and a pen and writing clockwise. So I got out a piece of paper and just did some wrote down random words, letters, and numbers, and I found that every time I did it counterclockwise, regardless if I was writing in cursive or if I was writing non-cursive, freestyle. And I'd like to hear from you, which style you write in, counterclockwise, clockwise. And just sitting here talking, I've been writing on this notepad. And what I've also noticed is that when I make a zero, I put a line through the middle to represent, or should I say differentiate that from an O, which I leave the middle blank. And it's something kind of curious, kind of piqued my interest, but I would love to hear from you, so leave your comments below. And you never know, learn something new. But I was doing some research online, but even though, disclaimer, don't believe everything you read on the internet, but I found some very different sources, either through universities or government sites. So I tend to rely more on those than, say, someone's personal blog, or someone living down the street posting on their own personal website. But for my research, I found that the majority of Americans tend to write their zeros and their O's and their circles counterclockwise. And it seems like there's the 86% chance that if you were born in the US, then you would end up writing that particular way. Whereas if you were born overseas in Europe, then or Asia, then it would tend to be the other way, clockwise. And that's interesting. It has to do with the culture, how you grew up, how, where. Something curious. Just never really paid much attention to it. Never really had any thorough, in-depth discussion. Drawing figures 101 in college or anything like that. But it'd be interesting to see, just zeros, circles, and O's. Just like I know sometimes when you're saying a phone number, for me personally, I know that if it's a zero, then sometimes I say O instead. It's like if the area code is, let's take Montana, 406, but sometimes I say 406, or Idaho is 208, so sometimes I catch myself saying 208 instead of 208, or even here in Washington, Eastern Washington, our area code is 509. But sometimes if I'm in a hurry relaying a number to someone, and I usually say 509 instead of 509. And I'm just curious if you do that too at home when you're saying a number out loud, a phone number, or even a street address. If you substitute O, or you say O instead of saying 0. I'm just curious if that's an inherent trait, if it's common to certain parts of the world, or genetic, how you're raised, also nature versus nurture. It's something interesting. I couldn't find any really definitive research on that aspect of substituting O for 0. Just the research on drawing circle zeros and O's. But who knows? I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this, and open up a dialogue discussion. Who knows? It's interesting. So just during this whole time that I've been sitting here, I've been writing on this pad, mainly not even paying any attention to what or where. It's kind of all scattered around on this page, but I can feel my hands going counterclockwise. I'm not really putting any effort. If I want to try to go clockwise, I have to put more effort to do that. It seems not as smooth or flowing compared to the other way. But this is what I'm thinking about here. It's almost 2:30 in the morning on Saturday, and here I am talking about circles, zeros, and O's. So hopefully by getting this off my mind, I'll be able to go to sleep and get a good night's sleep, and mainly wake up with a blank slate and take on the day and not ponder these things. But disclaimer, if you do watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine, let me know, and we can talk about that too. I love Star Trek. So anyway, this is Adam Fritz signing off. Good night.